Hi guys, welcome back to another video on what you missed this week in physics. So for the agenda for today's class, what we did, we took a daily-ish quiz. Every class period, I'm hoping to give you guys a little bit of a quiz that just hits the points from the class the time before. For you guys being at Front Range on these days, the ones that you miss won't count against you. Those will go ahead and be excused. But when you are in class, I am still going to have you guys participate in the daily quizzes so that we can, see where you are, check in, see how things are going. So the daily quiz does not really affect you this time around, but just so you're aware, on Monday when I see you guys most likely will have a daily quiz that is covering some of the material we talk about today. So most of the time in class was actually spent doing the lab, but a small portion was spent going over Archimedes Principle. So that's what I'm going to be talking with you guys about today, and we'll find a point where we end up doing the Archimedes Principle lab when you guys are back in the classroom. Just to put it on your radar, tomorrow after school from 3 to 4 p.m. there will be homework club, and that'll be meeting every Friday during that time frame. If you can't make it and you have questions about the homework, you can feel free to just shoot me an email about those. Homework for the first fluids unit is due on Monday. All right. So I talked with you three about this quite a bit in the classroom, but just in case you like it recorded down somewhere. Why is it easier to lift a friend in a pool? Why is it so hard to keep a beach ball underwater? And why does a helium-filled balloon fly away? The reason all of these things happen is because when an object is submerged within a fluid, there is always an upward force that acts on that object. Now, that net upward force is due purely to pressure, and we call that the buoyant force. Now, when I'm saying a net upward force, I guess I need to be a little bit more clear. It's not like a total net upward force. It is a net pressure that results in a net upward force that we call the buoyancy force. There can be other forces acting on the ball. In this case, we've got the gravitational force of the beach ball pulling it down. If I was pushing on the ball to keep it submerged underwater, I would need to draw another force on my free body diagram that would balance out the forces to give me a net force of 0. Now, the two key things about buoyancy force here is that when the object is submerged, the fluid exerts a pressure that is perpendicular to the surface, and then that pressure gets larger the deeper you go into the fluid. So all of these different forces that we can see on the screen, all of their horizontal components are going to cancel out, and we'll be left behind with a vertical component that points upward, just like this. Now, something that we talked about a bit on the board in my classroom, but didn't necessarily touch in the last video, whether the object floats, sinks, or just kind of remains floating, suspended in the fluid, not really sinking or floating, that depends on the net force acting on the object, not just the buoyancy force. So since the beach ball is really light compared to the buoyancy force when it's submerged in water, it's going to float. When the bowling ball is very heavy, compared to the buoyant force, it's going to sink. So here, since the buoyant force is greater than the gravitational force, we're going to have overall the net force pointing upward, and the beach ball is going to float. Here, the gravitational force is much larger than the buoyant force, so the net force is pointing downward, and we get the bowling ball to sink. Okay. Now, because it's physics, we need to do some math, and we are going to actually quantify the buoyancy force. And this is actually what Archimedes' principle is. That buoyant force, the amount pointing upward, is equal to the weight of the fluid that was moved out of the way by that object. So what that means is if I imagine my beach ball and the water that has been pushed out of the way by the beach ball existing there, the weight of that water that has been pushed out of the way is the same quantity as the buoyancy force. Now, obviously, when we push the beach ball underwater, the fluid that used to be in the space that it's occupying had to go someplace else. You know this if you fill a cup of water all the way to the rim and then try to put some ice in it, you get a mess on your hands. Now, the fluid that was pushed out of the way has a certain weight to it. There's gravitational force acting on those molecules of water, of air, of whatever fluid we happen to be talking about. That downward force that acts on that volume of fluid, the quantity is the same as the upward force that acts on the beach ball, that buoyancy force pushing upward on the beach ball. So if I know the mass of the fluid that occupies that space, I know the buoyancy force. Now, the buoyancy force, because that depends on the volume of the fluid that has been moved out of the way, the mass of the object has no effect on that buoyancy force. So a beach ball and a bowling ball that take up the same volume, they're going to have the same buoyancy force acting on them because they both displace the same weight of fluid. However, once again, they are inevitably going to have different effects because of their relative masses. The beach ball will float away, the bowling ball will sink. Okay, the last thing we need to do is actually quantify it. In the last video, we went through the derivation for pressure and how that changes with depth. Now, masses of fluids, that just doesn't really make much sense. It's not horribly convenient to try to figure out how heavy the fluid is over a certain area or over a certain volume. So it's much more convenient to put things in terms of density. So since the buoyancy force is just weight of the fluid displaced, I know that buoyancy force is just the mass of the fluid times gravitational acceleration. Same way that we have been calculating gravitational force since AP Physics 1. Now, though, instead of trying to figure out our buoyancy force in terms of mass, we're going to replace it into terms of density. So I'm going to rearrange so that the mass of the fluid is equal to the density of the fluid times the volume of the fluid, just rearranging our base density equation. And if I take this and plug it in for the mass of the fluid, I get that the buoyancy force is just the density of the fluid multiplied by the volume of the fluid that has been moved out of the way times g. And in order to simplify, because we don't want to get confused and think that the volume of the fluid is the fluid in the container, that's not the case, we're going to just say that the volume of the fluid displaced is of course equal to the volume of the object. So that means our buoyancy force is equal to the density of the fluid times the volume of the object times gravitational acceleration. And that's it. That's the key equation when it comes to calculating buoyancy force. So if I know anything about the object that's being submerged, like its volume, and if I know the density within which it's submerged, I can find the buoyancy force. Okay. So when you guys see me either, I think we decided on Monday, you're going to do this mini lab with Archimedes Principle. Basically what you're going to do is use a sphere, a metal sphere, and by submerging it in water with a force sensor, you're going to be able to calculate the buoyancy force acting on that object. Then for the second part, you're going to do the same thing, but calculate the density of an unknown fluid. Don't worry, you'll see when you get here what that looks like.